Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another session of the Village Vitality series. My name is Aline, and I will be guiding you through today's class. If you are joining us for the first time today, be sure that you have a chair, preferably one with a straight back and no arms, but you can work with whatever you have. Especially for today's class, we're not going to be turning sideways in the chair, and so it'll be a lot easier to work with a chair that has arms if that's all you have. Now, I have a towel today, so go maybe to your bathroom, run and grab your hand towel, or maybe you want to use a clean one from your linen closet. Um, just hand towel size, not a full size shower towel. Definitely needs to be bigger than a washcloth. We'll be using this today as a little helpful aid with some of our leg movements that you might find challenging. And so I just wanted to introduce this as an option. You definitely don't have to do it, but it just might make things a little bit easier for you. For right now, we can just lay that on the back of the chair so it's out of the way but handy when we need it. So for today's class, we will be focusing a lot on strengthening hips, glutes, quads. These muscle groups are very seriously neglected typically. Even if you're walking and you're utilizing those muscles, walking is more of an aerobic activity, really good for the heart. You will build some strength in the legs, but only to a certain point. So it's so important to incorporate strengthening and stretching because we got to balance it. We can't only stretch, we can't only strengthen. We need to do both to keep the body healthy and functioning. And so that's a big reason why I focus on this area a lot is healthy, functional movement of the hips because a lot of our movement patterns stem from this area, and we want them to be healthy and not unhealthy or unhelpful pattern-wise. So we'll also be working with a breathing technique today for our centering that we've done in the past. It's called Vishama Vriti, which is unequal ratio breathing. And that one is honestly one of my personal favorites for many reasons. One biggie is that it's one of the main ones that I utilized when I did research in graduate school on using yoga or chair yoga as a form of pulmonary rehabilitation. So folks with obstructive pulmonary diseases like bronchitis, COPD, emphysema, you're going to benefit hugely from this breathing technique. But even if you have apparently healthy lungs, you're still going to benefit. It's also great for stress relief and anxiety relief, and that extended exhale really helps to keep the airways open to allow more oxygen to come in when we're inhaling. So it's like a win-win-win, and it's just kind of cool, helps you clear your mind and get focused. So go ahead and have a seat if you haven't already. Oh, and I forgot to mention, today I'm barefoot. It's completely optional. We will be doing some standing work. So if you feel very firm on needing footwear for that, then keep your shoes on. But otherwise, I highly recommend taking them off, working the feet in a different way. And definitely with standing work, it can be really healthy to get at the smaller little muscles in the feet and the connective tissue in there. So two options for sitting this morning. If you need a little more support, I want you to scoot all the way back to your seat. So hips all the way back. That way you're still maintaining a relatively neutral spine. You're staying stacked with shoulders over hips, ears over shoulders, but you just have support. If you can and you want to work on core strengthening, so remember, core is not just the abs. We're also talking about the sides and back, basically the whole area around the spine. If you want to work on strengthening that as well as just strengthening the mind-body connection to your everyday posture, then come on to the edge of your seat. And remember, if about halfway through you notice you're starting to slump and it's really hard to get that good posture again, you can always scoot back. 1 minute in, 2 minutes in, for the last 30 seconds, doesn't matter. This is your practice, so adjust as you need to. So find your seated Tadasana or seated mountain pose. We want to have good spacing of the limbs and the body. So the knees are hip width apart and the heels are underneath the knees. Toes are pointing straight ahead. And I'm going to take an inhale here as I close my eyes and just try to lift up through the very top of my head. I might want to take a few shoulder rolls or any other movements if you're feeling a lot of tension in the spine, shoulders, neck, anywhere else. So feel free to do some neck rolls. Basically wiggle around a little bit until you can feel a little more comfortable sitting. Hands can rest to the thighs or to the sides of the chair. And do let your eyes fall closed here. And to begin this breathing technique, we will actually start with Samavriti, or balanced breathing. And I recommend a 4-count inhale and a 4-count exhale. And if 4 counts seems like an awful long time to you, remember your counting is going to be different. So if a slow 4-count inhale is too much, then you're going to count faster. So your counting may be 1, 2, 3, 4, or it may be 1, 2, 3, 4, or anywhere in between. So it's up to what your body will allow for right now. And just kind of testing the waters, because with this breathing technique, what we'll eventually work up to is a 4-count inhale and an 8-count exhale. So, and it's okay if we can't make it there, but we're going to try. So as you center here and observe inward, turning that focus to the sensations of the body, to the breathing in its natural state. When you're ready, begin to inhale for 4 counts and exhale for 4 counts. And I'm not going to count because I do think you should have your own pace, and you'll be counting mentally. As you breathe here, though, just observe what kind of movement your breath brings to your body, to the rib cage, to the collarbones, to the belly. The more movement we can bring with our breath, the better. That shows us that our bodies are open. The muscles aren't tightened down and shortened. That's why a lot of the work that we do in our warm-ups are for opening up those muscles in the ribs and the chest to get those fuller, deeper breaths. Now, if you feel it's accessible, begin to lengthen the exhale. So we're going to inhale for 4 counts and exhale now for 5 counts. And we'll stay there for a few rounds of breath before moving on. As always, if that's too much, trying to extend that extra count, you'll just stay at Samavriti, or your balanced breathing, 4 in and 4 out. If you'd like to try a little bit more, see if you can now inhale for 4 counts and exhale for 6 counts. Without too much force, without clenching in the body. Keeping the jaw relaxed and the eyebrows relaxed. And very importantly, too, the shoulders relaxed. Inhaling and exhaling through the nostrils. Now you may stay here, or maybe you're at your 4 and 5 ratio or your equal ratio. But if you can, see if you can extend even more. Now inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 7. If you notice any of those tightening, clenching patterns coming into play, that's your body cueing you to back off and stay with the 4 to 6 ratio. But if you're feeling receptive, you're working with the 4 in count of 4 inhale and a 7 count exhale. As you're observing your breath and your body here and you're counting, see too if you can stay lifting. Imagining that little string attached to the top of the head, pulling you up. Energetically lifting and at the same time rooting through the feet and through the hips. Wonderful. Perhaps stay here at whatever count ratio you're at. If you'd like to try the full expression, you'll inhale for 4 and exhale for 8. If you're having trouble with that posture, but you don't want to scoot to the back of the chair, really actively press down into the sits bones at the base of the body. So press your bottom down and lift up through the top of the head. And that pressing down can often help you lengthen. It's kind of a surprising effect, actually. Whatever ratio of breath you're at, take about 3 to 5 more rounds of breathing. When you're ready to let go of this breathing technique, after your next full round, after that exhale, just begin to return the breathing to normal. Although your new normal might be a deeper breath. And we'll begin to invite some wonderful spinal warm-ups next, spine and shoulders. You can blink the eyes open or keep them closed. And you'll start to bring those hands in front of you, interlacing the fingers, seeing if you can press those palms out and away from you any amount. This may be challenging, and that's okay as long as there's not pain associated here. Slight discomfort, maybe. Pain, sharp shooting, pinching, burning, no. If you're feeling pain with this, you can just try to have the palms together. You can grab one wrist. You'll see what movement we're doing next. And so basically you just want to try to keep the hands together for this movement. So what we'll be doing is on an exhale, I'm going to start to press through the palms, keep my arms parallel to the ground, dropping the head and scooping here, really engaging my abdominals, pressing in with my navel. And on my inhale, I'm going to lift and expand through the front of the body, releasing the abdominals, stretching, and sending those arms up overhead and even a little behind me if it's accessible. Arms can try to straighten, but they might remain bent, and that's okay. So now that you've seen the movement, let's move breath by breath. So exhale fully here. Inhale fully here. Notice if you're moving breath by breath, you may start moving faster or slower than me. But it's so important to move at the pace of your breathing, connecting that breath and body, creating an inner rhythm almost to that movement. Our breathing is one of the only functions, maybe it's the only one, that's both autonomic, meaning we don't have to control it, it does it on its own, but we also can voluntarily alter. And there's got to be a reason for that, something special there. So trying to work with that movement, trying to work with our breathing exercises. All right, shoulders might be really feeling it now. After your next exhale, you'll inhale to lift up and release. Maybe swing those arms out a little bit. Rolling the shoulders. Getting ready for a little bit more warm up in the core now, strengthening the muscles. So you have a couple options here. You can keep the hands on the thighs, especially if you're feeling some burning and a lot of engagement in the shoulders. If you'd like to engage the shoulders and work the arm strength a little bit more, you'll come to stacking one arm over the other. So I'll show you both options and then we'll practice together. So we're taking a simple spinal twist, heavy engagement of those oblique muscles. You're going to twist to one side, just from that solar plexus, just from muscle engagement. So it's going to be a very subtle twist in terms of how much you move, but you'll really feel it. So version that works the shoulders and arms like this. Version for a little less, like this. You can slide the hands like I'm doing or not, but I do find that hand slide helpful, personally. Okay, so join me whenever you're ready. Maybe trying arms first, and once those arms get really tired, you can drop them down. We're going to do about 5 twists to each side, making sure you're exhaling on that twist and inhaling to center. About 3 more rounds. Keep those arms up if you can. We don't get a lot of opportunities in COVID times right now to strengthen the arms. Or maybe you have. Maybe you've been doing a lot of gardening and other activities that utilize those arm muscles, but probably not. Okay, 1 more twist to each side. Wonderful. And on an exhale, release those arms. Shake it out. We're going to be doing a little bit more with the arms, starting to work on strengthening the back and continuing on strengthening the shoulders. So with this, we're going to move breath by breath again. On your inhale, you're going to send those arms back behind you, but it's not just a passive send my arms back. I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together. I'm really trying to imagine that I'm maybe even trying to press my hands together against the seat back. And I'm opening up a little bit, but it's not a full release here of the abdominals. I'm staying engaged. So most of the back bending is happening right here at the rib cage. So I'm trying to strengthen my back muscles here. Exhale to release. Inhale, I'm going to send those arms up overhead if I can. So just continuing that shoulder strengthening. And exhale down. Inhale, what's called locust, seated locust pose. Exhale, release. Inhale, arms all the way up at the very top of that inhale. The fingertips are raising. And exhale to release. So start moving at your own pace, or maybe keeping time with me if that works for your breathing. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Palms can be facing each other or palms can be facing the ground. Doesn't really matter. Just whatever feels more comfortable to you. Definitely as you send the arms back in locust, we want palms facing each other. Let's try for 3 more of these. So take a break if you need to, maybe sitting one out, and then joining back for the last 2 or 1. I'd like everyone to try to jump in on that last one though. So here's 2. Everyone join me for this last set. You got this. Inhaling, squeezing, and lifting. And inhaling up. And exhale, release. Excellent. Now it's time to work into the lower body before we get into our hard work for today. Although some of that might have felt like hard work. So go ahead and grab your towel if you'd like to give this one a try. We're going to be doing those hip circles. If you have had trouble supporting that heavy leg with just one arm, and when you use both, it's just not quite as effective, this is going to be a great little tool for you. So you're going to bring that towel underneath that knee. Grab either end of the towel, and of course, if yours is a little longer, that might even be better to just give you more ability to rotate without moving the torso very much and without having to fully straighten the arms. So you're just going to be rotating one direction, and then we'll switch directions here in a minute. So I'm trying to open my hip out as far as I can and lift my knee towards my chest as high as I can. So trying to get the most range of motion in that joint that I can. Keeping it healthy, making sure I don't get tight in one area or another in the hip. Go ahead and reverse directions. Try to have as loose of a grip as possible on the towel. You don't want to strain the fingers too much. But this is also good to work on grip strength. That's something that we don't consider as much. It's not typically something that you work out in the gym, but it's something that's so vital to everyday activities. Okay, one more circle. And then I'm going to open that knee out to the side, and I'm going to set myself down. You can just kind of let that towel be in your lap. You're at the edge of your seat here. If you have an arm on your chair, you're going to angle just a little bit to the side. Even if you don't have an arm, that might feel good to you. So I'm trying to make a 90-degree angle here with my legs. And then I'm going to just start to send that elbow down. I'm trying to keep my torso in line with my right leg. So I'm trying to stack on top. I'm going to feel some nice stretching along that left side. If it feels good to you, perhaps that arm comes up. And if it feels good to you, you're going to work on some chest opening here. Sending that arm back, opening the heart up and forward, and then backing out. You can, of course, hold that stretch if you'd like to, but I do find it's very beneficial to do this dynamic movement because it tests that flexibility just momentarily. It has an effect, but it's not too intense. You can still do this if the hand is down on the hip, by the way. Wonderful. You should probably be feeling a stretch in that inner thigh as well. I forgot to mention. Go ahead and on an inhale, come up. And bring those legs back together. Come back to the edge of your seat if you had shifted around. And let's do the left side. So I'm going to bring that towel underneath, root down through my right foot, lift up, and start that circling. As I circle here, I'm still trying to keep my chest lifted. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting about my posture and hunching down. We're fighting gravity here, y'all. So gravity has been working at you for years and years and years. And so we're lifting up. Maybe fighting is not the right word. We're resisting the pull. Staying lifted. Go ahead and switch directions of your circles. Nice big movements here. Core is engaged. You're feeling those abdominals work to hold you upright here. And the next time you open that leg out to the side, get it as far over to the side as you can, set it on down. Remember, you may want to shift around in your seat a little bit. Getting your 90 degrees, and then turning so that you're in line with that left leg. So I'm kind of facing my right leg. Just bringing that elbow down. Hand can stay on the hip at first. Just trying to open that chest forward, feeling that nice stretch here, and maybe other places as well. Perhaps sending the arm up. And perhaps taking 3 opening breaths here. So my inhale, I'm opening any amount. And my exhale, I'm backing off. And remember, again, you can do this without the arm up. And if looking up to the ceiling just doesn't feel great to your neck, don't do it. You can still get all of this action without it. All right. An inhale to lift back up. And an exhale to reposition. So coming again to the edge of that seat. Towel, we're pretty much done with it. You can set it back on the back of your chair or just toss it off to the side. Let's get ready for our vinyasa. So remember, vinyasa is our combination of forward fold and back bend. And so for your forward fold, hands can be on the legs the whole time. Hands can come up and out for a swan dive, forward fold, or hands can come up and stay up for a more active forward fold. So choose your method here. Deep inhale. Exhale, keep length in the spine. As long as you can, resist that rounding. Resist. And then when you can't resist anymore, relax into it. Feeling that nice stretch in the back. The backs of the hips. Maybe even the back of the neck. Rolling the shoulders a little bit. I'm just trying to relax and loosen up wherever you can. To come up, start to re-engage. Press into those feet. Powerful press down. Start to lift the head and neck. Hands come to the tops of the thighs. Try not to press into them too actively. Try to squeeze the shoulder blades together and engage the back to lift and lengthen your way up. Inhaling. And go ahead and send those arms behind you, maybe grabbing the chair on either side. Another inhale for your back bend. Unlike in the beginning of class, when we did the locust arms, now we're really trying to press that belly forward, press the ribs and chest forward, lift the chin. Breath or two here. And on an exhale, let it go. And bringing hands to hips, sitting up tall, zipping up those abdominals to engage. Pressing into that left foot, we're going to straighten that right leg. Any amount, bring it down. Open and tap to the right, bring it back. We're going to do that a lot more times. So breathe with me. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. You can do the opposite breathing if that feels more natural to you. Just find a breathing pattern and stick to it. Do not hold that breath. Don't worry if your leg doesn't come as high or as straight, or your knee doesn't move as far out to the side. You're just testing that strength today. This is why we're doing this class, is to slowly build that strength and that flexibility. And some of what I feel are the most effective movements are ones that do both. So right now, especially for this opening out to the side, we're working on mobility and strength at the same time. Let's try 2 more. Last one like that. Nice. Relax, shake that leg out. And one more movement for leg and core. Sit up tall. This time hands come out in front for some shoulder and arm strengthening. Rock back, keeping that straight spine until you feel this all engage. Straighten that right leg. And you're going to lift, even if it's just an inch, and lower. Lift and lower. Only lift as high as you can before you might start to round. So we want to maintain, the most important aspect of this exercise is to maintain that straight spine. Foot can be neutral. If you want to, you can flex, alternate flexing and pointing. That's just a great little addition to working the calf muscle a little bit, working the feet, working coordination in the brain. But don't let it throw you off too much. If you start feeling like, I don't even know what I'm doing with my leg, then just keep the foot neutral. Whew, y'all, let's try one more. And release. Go ahead and sit up. Deep inhale here. Keep the legs straight, toes to the ceiling. Exhale to shift forward into a little stretch here. Remember, we're trying to open the tailbone back. Belly folding towards the thigh. If you'd like to explore stretching into the hip a little bit differently, try to angle those toes out to the side. Feel different muscle stretch. Maybe come back to center. And perhaps just like we did with the chest opening and closing. One more. And slowly come back up. Slide that foot in. Seated Tadasana. We'll take one more vinyasa and do the other side. When you're ready, inhaling, maybe the arms lift. Exhaling to fold forward. Releasing down here. Relaxing and letting go of as much tension and holding patterns as you can. Maybe going, now that you're warmed up a lot more, for that leg grab. Deep breathing here. On an exhale, let go of the grab if you were doing so. Inhale to lift and start to engage. Hands to the thighs. Roll those shoulders back and down. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Lifting up. And moving into that back bend. Pressing the belly, chest, ribs forward. On an exhale, release. Hands to hips. Engage, lift. Straightening that left leg. And bend. Tap. And back. So perhaps that's an inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Or maybe it's an exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Either way, just keep breathing. Remember, you're just trying to work as much as you can, pushing the body's limits, but not beyond the limits. I've told y'all before, our bodies never lie to us, so listen now. Don't let your mind say, oh, I should be able to do this. Aline's still doing it. I need to do it, otherwise I'm getting no benefit. Untrue. The benefit is listening to the body and any movement that you can to strengthen. If you can, stay with it. Let's do one more. And relax. Shake it out a little bit. Any neutralizing movements that feel good to you? Get ready for one more little bit of work here before we come to standing. and do some balance. Deep inhale to send those arms up. Exhale to tilt back. Now, I forgot to mention on the other side, but you may have done it intuitively, you can absolutely bring your hands back behind you for support. Try not to rely too much on pressing into those arms if you can. And that leg straightens, that left leg. And we're lifting any amount and lowering. Leg stays straight, spine stays straight. I like to inhale to lift the leg and exhale to lower. And remember, you can practice pointing and flexing. If you're getting tired, y'all, bring those hands back. I forgot what my foot was doing. Stay with me. 2 more. Last one. Oh, yes. Nice work, guys. Sit up and stretch forward. So I'm relaxing maybe even my forearm down here onto my thigh, trying to press the belly forward, and perhaps taking those 3 open and closes, or not. If that feels really funky to you, it doesn't feel good, then don't do it. It's so hard, I think, sometimes. We're kind of trained to think that if we're going to strengthen, it's got to hurt, or if we're going to stretch, it's got to hurt to be effective. Not true. I think we did 4 there, but that's okay. Toes come back to center. Slowly come back up. Walk that foot in. Coming to standing for just a little bit of standing work before we relax. If you would like to try chair pose, join me now. Walking those feet in, but keeping them hip width apart. Leaning forward, arms come forward. Shift that weight, engage those glutes. This is powerful glute and quad activation. Lift up out of that seat. Come on up to standing. Nice little stretch at the top. And exhale to release. Awesome, we're standing now. Let's come on back behind our chair. We're going to do a little bit different of standing balance work today. Working on a posture called Warrior 3 balance. So it's a bit of a forward bend, engaging heavily in the glutes and the legs. And we're going to work on some push-ups here as well. All right, so I'm facing the chair. I'm basically shifting myself as far back as I can where I'm still touching the back of that chair with my fingertips. Shifting into that left hip, I'm going to bend that right knee. Really critical here to try to keep the hips pointing forward. So I'm going to send that leg back behind me. And you know how I always cue you guys not to lean forward when we do any of this kind of movement? Now we're actually going to lean forward. So I'm hinging forward as I send that leg back, trying not to open out to the side. So I really want to push that hip down. And here, I'm feeling those legs working. I'm feeling my balance working. Let's add a couple push-ups. So I'm just going to bend and straighten. Nothing major, but just working those arms a little bit. And of course, the legs and the core. Basically every muscle right now we're activating. One more push-up. And then we're going to hold here. Now, if you can, and of course you can drop out of it, shake it out, come back into it. But if you can, you're trying to send left arm out. And then if I have some crazy awesome balance masters out there, maybe you're sending both arms out. Try to hang here. One more breath. Keep pushing that hip down. I noticed mine was lifting, or it felt like it was. And on your next inhale, come up and Relax a second. Shake those hips out. Woo. We'll do some good stretching here in a minute, but we got to get the other side first. So replanting the feet, hip width apart, fingertips, engage. Let's go. So I'm going to shift into that right hip a little bit, bend that left knee, start to send that leg back. Hip stays pointing towards the ground. Try to keep it pointing. Down. And 5 push-ups here. Try to keep the elbows hugging in as close to the body as you can, not bowing out too much to the sides, although that will happen. And now we're trying to hold. You can always release and come back into it if you need to. Send that right arm out if you can. Try to notice if that hip's lifting and try to square it down to the ground. Breathe here too. It's so tempting to hold the breath in these tough movements. And when you're ready, an inhale lifts you up. And exhale, a sigh of relief. Ah, nice. Shake those hips a little bit. We're going to do a standing cool down stretch and one seated cool down stretch. So for that standing stretch, wonderful hip flexor stretch here. I'm going to have both hands on the chair. I'm fairly close to the chair this time. And I'm just going to take a little baby step back with the right foot. You may think that if you step further back, it will increase the stretch, but that's not true for this particular exercise. So I'm just taking a little step back. The important aspect here is that I'm tucking the tailbone. So I'm rocking my pubic bone forward, and I'm kind of tucking that tailbone down. And I'm going to feel this nice stretch here in the front of the hip. I'm almost leaning back a little bit as well. If you want to increase from what you're feeling here, then you can do a little side reach over to that left side, and you'll feel that increase the stretch. For me, I feel this pretty well. I'm going to stay right here. Remember, this is our cool down, so take some nice, deep, relaxing breaths. Try to relax the shoulders and the face. You did some good hard work today. And release. Let's do that other side. Little baby step back. Toes stay curled under. I've been having trouble with my words today, y'all. Okay, tuck that tailbone a little bit. Pubic bone lifts forward. Remember your option to move into a little side reach, this time to the right side if you'd like to. Deep breaths here, slow and steady. And now that we've done a great stretch for the front of the hips, let's move to stretch the back and sides of the hips with, of course, our seated pigeon pose. So shaking it out, coming to seated. Your two options here, either crossing ankle over ankle or ankle over knee. Well, really ankle over thigh. So I'll demonstrate both. You're at the edge of your seat again. Right ankle can cross over left ankle. I'm letting that knee open out, and I'm hinging forward until I feel that stretch. If I hinge forward and I think, Aline, this is supposed to stretch something, then if you can, you're going to draw that knee in to the chest and try to cross the shin over the thigh. It's okay if your knee is coming in. You may want to just try to press it down at the meaty part of the thigh, not at the knee. But undoubtedly, when you hinge forward, even if that knee's up to the chest, you're going to feel that stretch in the hips. Let's hang out here for a few more deep breaths. Again, I'm trying to relax my body here. I'm not so worried about posture and where I am in space as much as I am focusing on the stretch and the breath. And relaxing. Slowly come up on an inhale. Uncross wherever you're crossed. And let's switch sides and then we'll move to our final relaxation. So perhaps ankle crosses, or perhaps you guide that knee into the chest. I could have left my towel. Towel might be helpful here if you have trouble pulling that leg in. You could give that a shot. Yes, wherever you manage, hang into that stretch. Dig into that sensation. Our first reaction is to want to back out of it. But as long as we're not getting those cues from the body that we're pushing too hard, then try to really breathe into that sensation, into that stretch. Even though we know our breath can't move to our hip, it might actually be helpful to envision yourself sending your breath all the way to that hip, trying to pry open those tight, resistant spaces. Creating space, length, a sense of ease in that joint. And when you've had enough, an inhale lifts you up. Uncross and find your comfortable relaxation position. I'm not sure if I've shared that this is actually kind of a mini Shavasana. If you've taken a yoga class, you'll know what that is. It's corpse pose. It's the opportunity to integrate everything that we've done. So get comfortable, figure out what's going to feel best for you, where you're still maintaining as much of a neutral spine as possible. I'm going to open my legs out nice and wide. And relax. So the idea behind this posture is to allow the body to become heavy, to release all of those micro tensions. Even the tension in the toes, in the jaw. Those spaces that we don't often notice throughout the day that we're even holding them. Just allowing your breathing to be normal, without effort, without control. Notice if you're still holding tension in your big muscles like the glutes, the quads. So basically in your hip area or your thighs. Relax those areas. Just a few more breaths. ready, just begin to breathe deeper, fuller breaths. Maybe even visualizing a sense of lightness, light energy coming into the body on inhale and spreading down to the fingers and the toes, just filling the vessel of your being with love, energy, whatever you want to bring into your life. And then as you bring it in, on your exhale, sharing it with the world. And with those deep, beautiful, light breaths, start to invite movement back to the body. First, maybe small movements, making them bigger, stretching out. There's no right or wrong here. You can begin to open your eyes if you haven't already. And we're done with another session. Thank you so much for joining me, for practicing with me today. I hope that you continue to benefit from these sessions. And if you would like a copy of the breathing techniques, I've already delivered to some folks, and I would love to give you some copies as well. So just reach out to me. You can email me or call me, or even stop by the gym and ring the little doorbell. And if I'm in my office, I'll come out. And shout out to Erna for the little breathing visualization at the end of class. And again, just thank you so much. My name is Aline. If you have questions or need me in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll see you next time. Bye.